Okay, guys. So today we're going to continue practicing and seeing the first question of the speaking section, question 1, the independent question. And we're going to continue practicing the way we started yesterday. But before we start practicing, I wanted to show you guys another sample response. Yesterday we saw one example of our level 5 response. That was about this question whether or not we can learn from making mistakes, right? If you guys remember, that was the one we heard. And we saw at the sample response, we chat everything we talked about, right? The introduction, one reason, and one example. So I want to show you guys another sample response to a different question so that you see the two different structures that you can have. We already saw the first where you have the introduction, reason, and example, and that's it. Let's now take a look at this one here. Any questions before we start? Okay, so maybe Salma, could you please read the question on my screen?
Do you think it's a good idea for children to help their parents with household chores as soon as they are old enough?
Okay, great. Use details and examples in your response. So, is it a good idea for children to help their parents with household chores, household tasks? Let's hear a sample response and let's also see what this person says, how this person structures his response. Let's see.
I think it's a great idea for kids to do household chores as soon as they're old enough. First of all, this can teach children some really valuable skills that will come in handy later in life. For instance, I was responsible for cooking breakfast for my little brother every day before we went to school when we were both kids. As a result, when I went away to college as a teenager, I stayed really healthy because I could cook my own meals instead of always going out for fast food like my friends and classmates. Secondly, parents and children can do household chores together, and this gives them a chance to bond. You know, as they work on things like cleaning dishes or cooking food, they can chat, and the kids might open up about what's going on in their lives.
Right, so the structure for this answer was a little bit different. How many reasons did this person have?
I think too that they'll learn and also that they share time with her parents.
Exactly, yes. So yes, we had two reasons, and he actually also has two examples, although obviously one is longer than the other. And it's another way that you could structure your responses. So both of them, the ones we heard yesterday and today, both are top scores. So it doesn't matter how many reasons and how many examples you have. I just wanted to give you guys options when you see both of them could be really well done. In this case, we have two reasons. As Salma was saying, the first one is that children learn valuable skills that are helpful later in life. And he has a really good example for that. He gives specific details, right? He helped his parents when he was a kid cooking breakfast, and that taught him the valuable skill of cooking. And now he can cook, or when he went away to college, he could cook his own meals. He didn't have to eat. He didn't have to eat out, right? So it's very detailed, very specific, but also related to what he says in his reason. And he has another reason. Parents and children can bond while doing household chores, and kids can open up. And as you guys can see, he has details, right? Cleaning dishes, cooking food, those are details. Okay, guys? So it's the same. It doesn't matter if you have one or two reasons. The important thing is that you at least have one, which is correctly explained and well supported with an example. Your introduction, I mean, you do the same as what we said. You answer using the same verb, I think, and you paraphrase or you copy a little bit of the statement. I totally think it's a great idea. It's an absolutely fantastic idea. You can paraphrase it if you want. Okay, guys? So, do you have any questions before we start practicing now? Okay. Let's see then. Okay, guys. Let's start. With this other question. Okay. The question here says, state whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. Then explain your reasons using specific details in your explanation. Students should not be allowed to bring cell phones into the classroom. Now you will have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so maybe we can start with Natalia. Do you think you can go first?
Okay, I strongly agree that the students shouldn't be allowed to bring cell phones into the classroom because I think the cell phones almost all the time are destructive. So, for example, when I was at school and I took my cell phone with me to the school, I was always texting with my friends and I didn't pay attention and I got bad grades. So I think that's the main reason that I think the students shouldn't be allowed to bring cell phones.
Okay, well done, Natalia. That was a great response. Really well done. So I wouldn't really have any comments. Your introduction was perfect. You answered with the same verb. I totally agree that students should not be allowed to bring cell phones. You had a good reason. Cell phones are distracting for students. They can get distracted. And you had great examples. Your grammar was really good, and I like to highlight that. You were talking about past experience, but your grammar was really good. So I would totally recommend you personally that you continue giving personal experiences in the past for your examples. Maybe the only thing that I would do is try to work a little bit more on the linking words. So instead of saying so, for example, you can say, as a result, I got low grades in school, right? Instead of so, or instead of and, in addition, instead of but, however. But other than that, to be honest, I don't think I have any other comments. Really well done, Natalia. Thank you. Okay, guys, let's do another one. The question here says, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? It is important to learn about other cultures. Use details and examples to explain your opinion. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So maybe Noelia, you can go now.
I agree with I agree that it's important to learn about other cultures because you can acquire knowledge and that can be used in the future. I remember that when I was in the university, I took history and I learned too many cultures like the Guaranis and also the Quechuas and the Mayas also. And now that I work like a social advisor, I can understand more the cultures in too many countries.
Okay, perfect. 10 out of 10. I would not change anything. I think everything went perfect. Really starting from your introduction. At the beginning, you were about to say with, but then you corrected yourself. You went with the right introduction. You had a great reason, and I love the fact that you kept it short, so you can acquire information that will be useful in the future. And your example was perfect again. Great details, great grammar. I like how specific you were about it, how personal it was. Honest, no comments. Well done, Noelia. Okay. And this was honestly a difficult question. When you have these questions like they are too subjective, it tends to be a little bit more difficult. But I think that was a great way to answer it. Now the question here says more and more people are buying items on the internet and from magazines or catalogs. Other people prefer shopping in a store. Which do you prefer and why? Now you will have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, Adrian, please. You can start speaking now.
I strongly prefer buy on the internet because it's easier to find something. For instance, I go in marketplace. I bought recently. I bought a pair of shoes, and also I use Amazon to both an TV.
Okay, okay, well done as well, Leon. Thank you so much. Great introduction. Careful with the grammar. Remember, I prefer to buy on the internet. You had a great reason. It's easier, it's more convenient, or it's easier to find the products. The products are easier to find. And your example was also good. You were giving specific details, which is something I really like. But maybe what I would do is try to draw the connection between the example and the reason a little bit more. So you said that recently you bought a pair of shoes on Facebook. Good, but tell me about how easy those shoes were to find, right? Because your reason is that the products are easier to find when you buy them on the internet. So tell me, I was looking for those shoes before I subscribed on Facebook for about 3 months. And as soon as I looked them up on the Facebook page or on Marketplace, I found them in less than 10 seconds, right? So tell me how easy they were to find. Make sure that you connect your ideas a little bit more. And that way you'll also feel the time that you had. And if you still have extra time, don't forget your conclusion. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, guys, do you have any questions so far? All right, here we have some people prefer to learn about current events from watching television news programs. Others prefer to read about current events in newspapers or on the internet. Which do you think is better, watching the news or reading the news? Explain why. Now you guys will have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, Salma, please. You can start now.
I prefer to learn about current events by watching television programs because for me it's more interesting to see a video than read an article. And I think that the television channel has a good resource to find the information. For example, if there was a time that I saw knew about an accident and I saw it on an article, but it has any source. And when I saw it on the TV, I know it was a lie.
Okay. It was good, but don't forget that your reasons and your examples need to be connected, right? You had 3 different ideas here. All of them were good, but you need to focus on 1 or 2 and make sure that they are really, really well connected. So you said first that it's more interesting to you watching something, watching a video than reading about it. So in your example, you could do that, right? You could say, I saw this or I read this news about the accident and it didn't really have an impact on me. However, when I watched them on the news, then I really felt, I don't know, more empathy maybe. Or, but you said that it's more interesting to you and that it's a good channel. But in your example, you talked about how reliable the information is, right? Which is a different idea that's not really connected to what you said before. So it doesn't matter what idea you choose, but you have to stay focused on that idea. So if you say that is more interesting, your example needs to be about how interesting it is to watch the news instead of reading about it. If you say that the information is more reliable, in the TV news than what in articles, then you can use the example you gave, right? Just make sure that they are connected. Don't forget. Okay, that's the only thing I would say, mostly in terms of content. Guys, do you have any questions so far? Okay, our next question here says, some people enjoy spending their free time alone in activities such as reading, thinking, or writing, and others enjoy spending their free time in shared activities with other people. Which do you prefer and why? Now you guys will have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, Jimena, please, you can start speaking now.
I prefer I prefer in my free time alone be alone, like reading, thinking, or writing, because I think is a way how I can improve my skills, because I preparing me to how to write a book, and for this reason, I prefer spending my time reading and a books.
Okay. So what would you say, Jimena? What would you change if you had the opportunity to change something? If you could change anything from your response, what would you change? Okay, maybe what I could say is, first of all, don't waste too much time in your introduction. Your introduction is the quickest thing. You just look at the screen and you need to go reading the question, right? So I totally prefer to spend my time in shared activities. I totally prefer to spend my time alone. And that's it, right? And then you go direct to your reason. Now, as for your reason, to be honest, it wasn't so clear for me. You were talking about improving certain skills. I don't know what skills though you meant. Preparing yourself. Maybe, I mean, can you maybe think of another reason? Or could anyone maybe think of some reasons for this question?
Maybe it could be spend time to relax and using your time as whatever as you want and not dependent of the time of maybe your friends. In my case, I work a lot in the weekend. So in my free time, I just want to taking a nap, eating, spend time with my dogs. So I prefer really prefer spend time by myself.
Okay, great. Thank you, Noelia. So yes, that could be a really good idea. So maybe, Jimena, you could say something like what Noelia was saying, right? You could say that it's a better way to relax for you. Or I also like a lot the other idea of you don't have to worry about coordinating a time or depending on other people, right? Or accommodating your time to their time, or finding a common time among your friends and you. So yes, both could work. And examples are always easy, right? You can always use the same examples they give you here because they do give you examples of reading, thinking, and writing. So I like what you did, Jimena. You pick one, you say, writing, and then you give that as an example. So just the only thing is prepare better your response during your 15 seconds, save more time in your introduction, and keep it short. Keep your result short. That way you're gonna avoid like repeating the same idea or sounding a little bit unsure, hesitating. And Jimena, but it wasn't bad. Okay, guys, let's go for a more difficult question. It says, explain whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. All countries, including the US, Russia, and China, should not be allowed to possess nuclear weapons. Then give specific details in your argument. Now you guys will have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, Natalia, please. You can start speaking now.
I totally disagree with the statement that all the countries, including US, Russia, and China, shouldn't be allowed to possess nuclear weapons because I think nuclear weapons could cause diseases in people. For example, like the explosion that occurs many years ago. I don't remember the place, and that causes a lot of diseases to the people, and that's not good.
Okay, great, perfect. So I think it was really good. You had a good reason. It could cause diseases in people. I don't have any comments. The only thing I would say is go faster with your introduction. For example, you said, I agree with the statement that all countries, including the US, Russia, and China, should not be allowed to possess. That's too long. You just say, I totally agree that countries should not possess nuclear weapons, let's say, right? You summarize it. You don't necessarily have to say everything that you have in the question, because that's going to take you too long and you're going to waste time there. So I totally agree that countries should not have nuclear weapons or possess nuclear weapons, since, and then you say, right, these are lethal for people. It can be the cause for many diseases. And you give an example. Now, if you don't remember a specific example, if you don't have it in mind, let's say you could talk about, like, let's say the Hiroshima attack or whatever, but if you don't have something in mind, make it up. You could say, for example, or a great example of these was the attack or the explosion that occurred in, and then you make up, you could even talk about a country where this didn't happen, right? That occurred in Italy. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's not true, as long as you say something. Okay, maybe those are some tips I can give you, but most importantly, go faster with your introduction. Don't waste too much time there. Okay. So let's go for another one. The question here says, instead of phoning friends and family, many people prefer to communicate by sending text messages. Do you think that it is a good idea to use texting as a primary means of communication? Support your points with specific examples and details. So now you guys will have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay. So please, Noelia, you can start speaking now.
Okay. I totally think that it's a good idea to use texting to communicate as a primary, because firstly, sometimes I work and I can answer a phone. I can answer my phone or a call, but I have the time to read a text message, and then I can answer the text message to my family or friends. And secondly, I think that it is not an emergency, so you can take your time.
Okay, great. So no comments really? Yeah, in this case, your reason and your example were connected. It was a personal question, so it's fine. It's about what you prefer. So yes, to be honest, I don't think I have any comments. Maybe keep more details in your example. You use your example and your reason all at the same. So maybe where do you work? What do you do for work? What keeps you busy, right? You say that you're usually busy with work. So tell me, I work in this industry or in this company. This is what I do, which is why I can't usually pick up calls. but I will answer or see a text later and get back to the family or friends. Maybe that, more details, but I wouldn't really say anything else. Like, it was a good response. Okay, guys. So another one. Our question here, and it's similar. It says, some people like to have their cell or mobile phone with them at all times. Other people prefer not to bring their cell or mobile phone with them everywhere they go, or they choose not to own one at all. Which do you prefer? You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so Adrian, please, you may start speaking now.
I strongly prefer to bring my cell phone with me because when people have an emergency and they are alone, they can call some of their families. Uh, for example, when I broke my arm in the school, I I called my mom to tell her the story, the emergency.
Okay, well done, Adrian. Great. Great reason. Sometimes there are emergencies and you need to be able to pick up the phone. Great example as well about an emergency that you personally had. Your grammar was good in general, although I don't think we had it here. Okay, there you are. So maybe you would want to consider adding a second reason, because I'm noticing that you tend to have some extra time. So maybe it would be good if you could prepare, just in case, 2 reasons so that you can add that second reason after your first. What other reason would you have?
I didn't hear the first thing that they say. My internet doesn't work.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just saying that it was, I mean, everything was okay. I wouldn't change anything, but I would add a second reason perhaps, because I'm noticing that you tend to have some extra time. So maybe you can try preparing a second reason just in case. And if you have the time, you can add that second reason. And if you don't have that much time, go with a conclusion. But make sure that you don't leave so much extra time at the end. Right? So either a second reason or a conclusion would be nice.
Okay.
Okay. All right, our next question here says, do you agree with the following statement? To protect the health of young children, advertisements for candy and junk food should not be shown on television. Use specific reasons and details in your response. Now you guys will have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay. So, Salma, please, you can start speaking now.
I think it's impossible, but I am completely agreed that advertisement for candy should not be allowed in television because the kids are influenced and they want to buy what they see on the TV. For example, my nephew, when we go to the supermarket, she always asks for the candies that she had seen in the TV. I want the candy that was of that color and of that flavor. There are sometimes that the candy is not in the supermarket, but she wants that one.
Okay, perfect. Well done. I really liked your response, and I really like the way that you intonated it as well. So starting from your introduction, the only thing don't forget is not I am completely agree, it's just I completely agree, right? Without the verb to be. But perfect response. So you summarize the statement, you didn't say it all because it's a bit long. You had a great reason. Children are easily influenced and they want to buy what they see on television or on commercials. And a great example as well, specific details. Um, yes, careful maybe with the tenses. So she always wants to buy the candy that she saw or that she has seen, right? Instead of she had seen. You would say she had seen if you were talking about a past experience. So one day we went to the grocery store and she wanted to buy I don't know, the candy that she had seen previously. But if you're talking about the present, every time that we go to the store, she wants to buy the candies that she saw or that she has seen before. But it was good. Now our next one here says, some people like to study in public places where there are other people around. Others prefer to study in places where there are few or no people around. Which kind of place do you prefer? Explain why. Now you guys will have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay, so Jimena, please, you may start speaking now.
Okay. I prefer a study where there are few people because I'm a person that get distracted easily, and for this reason I prefer study alone because I I I I I can lose my focus whether hearing other conversation, smelling other foods or whatever, and because mm,
Okay, Jimena, not bad, thank you. I can see that you're nervous, so take it easy, breathe in, breathe out before you answer. Right now, we're just practicing, and the more you practice, the more you'll get rid of that nervousness. But it was good, to be honest. It was really good. What I would say is I think the same as I said before. Great introduction. I prefer, don't forget the grammar. I prefer to study in places with no people around. You had a great reason as well. You started really good. Since I am a person who gets easily distracted, I would have stopped there. If I were you, that I would stop there because you continue explaining and you continue saying the same. You're saying for this reason, I prefer to study alone because I can get distracted, I lose the focus, but you're saying the same. So stop, make it shorter. I completely prefer to study alone since I get easily distracted when I'm around other people. For example, and then you tell me where you study, right? For example, every time that I have a big exam coming for university, I go home and I don't know, I go home, close the door, and study in my door or in my room, I don't know, right? Don't forget your examples. So stop yourself when you're giving your reason and when you're explaining it too much, and then go directly to the example. Or maybe you can do the other way around. For example, if I try to study in a library, I get easily distracted as soon as I hear, I don't know, another conversation. Or if I go to a coffee shop, then I can never get any work done there, right? Or something like that. But the important thing is that you give those examples and that you finish your reason short sooner. Okay? It was good though. Thank you, Jimena. Any questions so far? Okay, so our next question says, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Parents should be involved in the process of helping their children to choose a career. Use specific examples and details to support your opinion. Now you guys will have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay. So, Natalia, please. You may start now.
I totally agree that parents should be involved in the process of helping their children choosing a career because I think it's a really important decision that every person has to make. And when I was choosing my career, I didn't have the help of my parents, and I think it could be better if they support me and they gave me their opinion, and I think I could feel better.
Right, awesome. Give more details. What did you choose? For example, I chose to major in architecture and I regret that decision. I don't know. Details and only thing grammar at the end. I think it's a great idea to use this structure, but you need to be really careful. When you're speculating about the past, what could have happened if things had been different, you need to use the third condition. So when I was when I was choosing, I didn't have the help of my parents. And now looking back, I think it could have been better. I could have made a better decision if they had supported me, if they have helped me, if they have guided me. So that's the third condition. If they have supported me, I could have made a better decision. Okay, careful. It's a little bit complicated. It's the last conditional, but if you guys want to use it, go for it. It's a great structure to show grammar, but you need to use it correctly. So maybe practice your review a little bit and it'll be great. Okay. Another one. Our question here says, some university students choose to take difficult classes, even if they know they might not get a good grade in the class. Other students prefer to take easier classes in which they know that they will get a good grade. Which do you prefer? You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so please, Noelia, you can go ahead.
Okay, I totally believe that it's better to choose a class in order to give good grades because personally, I think that always you have to think also in the future. So if you want to apply for a bachelor's or a scholarship, so it's always better getting a good grades in your certifications for because sometimes it's a requirement to apply in these scholarships. Now, if I can choose, in my case, I choose always this class is easier.
Okay. So you choose easier classes, right? Because of your grades? Okay, good. So what would you say, Norelia, if you could change anything, is there anything you'd change?
I think that I will change the order, like I was saying, or giving my examples, because it was not too much clear. And maybe, first of all, talking about what I choose, the introduction was not too clear. Then giving the explanation about what it is better. And secondly, it's not in these cases, like it's our opinion, it's not necessarily an example, but it could be like a secondary reason.
Okay. So yes, it was so clear in the beginning, it got clear as you went, but it was good. Yes, I would do that as well. And maybe your reason didn't need that much explanation, right? So personally, I prefer taking easier classes, and then you say why, right? Because when you're later in the future, when you're applying for other programs, scholarships, you need better grades. And then I would honestly give an example. I would say that it's always better to give an example. So, for example, now I'm applying to this scholarship in this university or this program, and I have the requirement of having at least, I don't know, a 3.9 GPA, let's say. And if I had taken easier classes when I was in university, maybe I could meet these requirements. But yes, the structure is maybe what I would work on. But it wasn't bad at all. Okay, guys. And our next question says, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Children should receive money for doing household tasks such as cleaning. Use specific examples and details to support your opinion. Now you will have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay, so Adrian, please. You can go ahead now.
Yeah. I strongly disagree to pay children to do household tasks because they with these tasks they can learn a lot of abilities. For example, when I was a kid, I helped my mom with the kitchen and with the garden. So now I live alone. I can cook my food and I can plant a tree.
Okay, perfect, Adrian. Really well done. I mean, great structure, content was good, your example was connected to your reason. You had a specific details in your example, what household tasks you did when you were younger, how they are useful now, and even your introduction, because you said I disagree too, but it was good, it was correctly used because you followed it with a verb. So I don't think I have any comments. And the way you spoke as well, the delivery of your response, it wasn't fast, but it doesn't need to be fast. So I think it was the right speed to enable you to articulate well, to avoid making mistakes. I wouldn't change anything. Well done, Adrian.
Yes, I am a little bit nervous.
But honestly, you couldn't tell. I couldn't tell that you were nervous. You sounded really relaxed this week. So well done. That's good. Okay, our next question here says, do you think that eating healthy food is easier or more difficult today than it was 40 or 50 years ago? Use examples and details to support your answer. Now you will have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay, so Salma, please, you may start speaking now.
I think that nowadays is more difficult to make healthy food because 40 and 50 years ago, the food was organic and the farmers didn't use too much pesticides. Um, for example, in my house, when I have to do the salad, my mom always made me to peel the tomatoes because the all the pesticides and clean all the vegetables. So it's more difficult to find products that are healthy and don't have chemicals on these ones.
Exactly, great. And don't have chemicals on them. Yes, great. Good job, good response, good reason. So there weren't too many pesticides, so many chemicals uh, in the, well, in food before. You had a great example as well with specific details, how you helped your mom peel tomatoes before. Your conclusion as well. So no comments. I think you guys are nailing it. That was a great response time. You're welcome. Okay, our next one here says, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Private cars should not be allowed in the city centers of large cities. Use details and examples to explain your opinion. Now you'll have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay. So, Jimena, please. You may go ahead now.
Okay. I totally agree that private cars shouldn't be allowed in the city centers of large cities because there are a lot of pollution in in all these enormous cities. And first of all, there are a lot of quantity of these vehicles. Um, but I think
Okay, not bad. You started really good. Great introduction. You totally agree that they shouldn't be allowed in the city centers. You had a great reason, right? Careful with the grammar. There is a lot of pollution. Great reason. I would stop there. Same thing as I said before. Stop sooner. There's a lot of pollution in the cities. Stop yourself and tell me, for example, I live in Cochabamba City. I live in La Paz City. I live in New York City, and pollution levels are unbelievable nowadays. And then you can continue, right? Plus, there's about every, I don't know, you can maybe talk about traffic as well there. But give details, give examples. Or you could also always refer to a fact, right? You could say, I live in New York City, pollution levels are alarming now. And I don't know, I recently read on the news that in 2 years, this will happen. So you can always use those facts, especially when talking about the environment. My suggestion, make sure that you memorize or learn a couple of expressions and facts related to pollution and to technology, because there are a lot of questions that are about that. So it's always good to have them in hand. Okay, guys, so here you could have maybe used one expression like that. So stop yourself sooner with your reason. Don't explain things too much, because that's when you start losing the focus of the idea. Okay? Go with your examples. Well done, though, Jimena. It was a good response. Okay, guys, so what do you think now that we finished practicing, now that you've gotten to see different questions as well, different topics? Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments about this task so far?
Yeah, I have a question. Should we say the complete statement, or can we paraphrase it?
Good question. I recommend, it depends. If it's too long, then don't say the complete thing. Summarize it or paraphrase it. For example, in this case, you could say, I totally agree that private cars should not be allowed in the city centers. Or I totally agree that they shouldn't be allowed in city centers. Or that there shouldn't be private cars in city centers. So you don't necessarily have to say everything. You can paraphrase it. Instead of private cars should not be allowed, there shouldn't be, I don't know, they should be forbidden. You can paraphrase it as long as the meaning is not different. As long as you keep the meaning, you can paraphrase it, and you can for sure summarize it. You don't have to say everything. You could even say, I totally agree that private cars shouldn't be allowed, and stop there. As long as you say part of it, something that is related to the statement, then it's fine. Because they know what the question is. When they are reviewing or listening to your response, obviously they have the question. It's better for you to say it, because that way you know what you're saying and you know what your position is and you keep it clear. And it's also good in order for the listener to understand very well your position. But it's not necessary to say everything. So as long as you say partially what the statement is, or you paraphrase it in a way that the meaning isn't lost, then it's fine. You don't need to say everything. So, yes. Any other question? Okay, guys. So if you don't have questions, then we're gonna leave it here. Tomorrow we'll continue. Please don't forget, though, the daily survey should be on your screens. And I will see you guys tomorrow in class.
Thank you, Miss. Bye. See you tomorrow.
Thank
Bye,
you. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
guys.